just talk about that and how y'all were able to get everything, as he said, aligned to where he wanted to come.
After we made the transition in coaches, we had already been talking about. I learned from Mark Emmert that once you hire a coach, you kind of start looking for your next coach. Start looking at football and observing people. We had a list put together. We said, who's the top guys out there, who we could get, what made sense to us. And Lane name kept popping up. We said, you know what? Let's take a shot at him and make some connections. And I want to get to know him a little bit. So I contacted guys like Booger McFarland, Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears. Booger played for his father, so he watched Lane. They grew up. He was Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And get a better feel. I also talked to a lot of coaches and a lot of former coaches who worked here, as you know, and got a better feel about who the guy is. Do we want him at LSU? Is he the right fit for LSU? And that's the thing, the fit here at LSU. So through that process and with all that going on, I tell people football coaches, they're different. They're like student athletes. They don't follow the meeting and all those potential things that get you thrown off. And I worried about that. Some of our fans worried about that more. But I was like, let's stay positive. Let's move forward. Let's go get the best guy we could get. And we circled him. And like I said, we met. It was a short meeting, about an hour and 20 minutes. In fact, it was a surprise when I called them and said, come pick us up. They were like, y'all finished already? I said, yeah, we finished already. It wasn't a 3 or 4 hour meeting. You don't ask a coach like that. Skip Bertman taught me that. Nick Saban taught me that. You don't ask great coaches, what you going to do on 3rd and 8? Tell me about your offensive game plan. Tell me about your defense. Tell me about who you're going to hire here. It's like, what you need to be successful. We want you to be our coach here. What you expect from me as athletic director, and what you expect from LSU. And do you want to be at LSU? And that was pretty much the conversation.
Where was that? Interview you in a way, too?
Yes, they interviewed me. We met in a place. We flew somewhere, and we had a meeting. We landed, and we flew out.
How did you handle all this? You were put in a very big spot to hire a football coach as your first assignment as the athletic director. Was there stress? Was there any anxiety? Were you calm? How did you handle it?
I exercise a lot. I run a lot, like 5 miles, 6 miles a day. No, but I've been through this before with Coach Saban. I've been through this with Les Miles. You remember, Scott wrote an article about when Coach was hiring Les Miles and Coach Burton was AD here, was going through the process. I just had to tell him, I said, hey, hiring a football coach at LSU is the biggest thing in the state of Louisiana. It's the biggest job. I said, you hired the wrong one, Coach Bertman. Of all your national championships, all your great baseball program, that's going to be your legacy. So I thought about this will be my legacy at LSU, and that I have to get the right person to be the head coach of LSU. So no, I was real relaxed. I've done this before. I've done this 5 times already. Now I'm sitting in the chair. It's a little different than being one of the associates working along with it. So yeah, it was a little pressure at times, and you felt a little times. And my thing was making sure everybody stayed quiet. There was a lot of leaks. A lot of people we talked to. Some things got out. Just keeping everybody quiet because I knew, like he said, it was a bit tough situation. He did well at that place. He loved that place. And we were thinking about that timeline also. I got kind of nervous the other night when Auburn tied Alabama in that game. Wow, talking about it's a championship game now, so it might push us back a week. But we were comfortable, and he was comfortable with me, and we had a good relationship. And he and I would just talk about normal things, and just talk about places. And he said Layla came down here, and some of his family. They have to really see Baton Rouge. That was one of the big things because her father was All-American at University of Florida and coached at Florida, great NFL player. And those are the things that we were a little afraid of. Like, that's that pool of Gainesville. But then when she came to Baton Rouge, she's like, wow, I really like this place.
Yeah, how soon after you guys let Brian go did you first reach out to his representatives?
I think about we let Brian go. Scott was still AD at the time, and there was some transition going on then. But as soon as things got clear and they told me I was the AD and had to go find a football coach, that was the call. I knew pretty much all the agents of all the people we contacted. So we were talking a lot with all the different agencies to find out who's the right guy, the right fit. You go over the list and you keep going over the list, keep coming back to him. You go over the list another time, say this guy's a good coach. And you watch a lot of football games, and kept coming back to him. And I kept watching his team, how he plays, how he scores, what he does on offense. He's a guy that's a talent that not many people have. Steve Spurrier had this talent, Nick Saban has this talent, a few guys have, Skip Bertman has this talent where they can look at a game and say, do this right now, run this play right now. Not many guys can do that, and I watched his games, I studied his games in film. I watched a lot of film on these guys, see what they do, how they prepare, and when I look at him, I'm like, wow, this guy here knows how to call a football game.
How many
Just stay patient during this whole thing?
That was the hard part. That was the hard part a little bit. We're looking at that time. And the thing is, if you get to the playoffs and they let him cook, we told him, we did tell him this here, if you get to the playoffs, you coach your team. We had no problems with that at all. So LSU was not part of this where we didn't want him to coach. We told him that, you get to the playoffs, please coach your team. So I'm gonna make my announcement early, fine with that. Let us know you come to LSU, go coach your team, go coach Ole Miss. It's great publicity for our institution. You have a coach out there coaching in the playoffs, playing for the national championship, that's gonna be the next head coach of LSU. So we had no problems with that part of it.
Lane talked about how important it was for him to have financial backing for the roster, the players. What is LSU's plan going to be to do that?
It's a great plan. It's great numbers and great supporters. With a guy like Lane Kiffin, you'd be surprised the calls we got from people who want to support this program in that area. And a lot of people who hadn't supported this before. Now with Lane here, there's a lot of excitement to get behind him and support him. A lot of our people who have been previously donors to that part, they want to up their donations to make sure that we get the best players in.
Verge, before a contract or before you picked him up on the plane, when did you feel kind of in your gut or your heart that it was done?
I picked him on the plane. We told him to get there. It's so funny, we had his plane set for Tupelo. And we told him like Tupelo in Memphis where he wanted to pick it up. And he said, he was saying all along, he said, yeah, let's go to Tupelo, that'd be fine. So we get on the plane and Julie says, we're going to Oxford. I said, we're going where? Oxford. I said, they'll be shooting missiles at us to get out of that place. I said, so we landed, and it's so funny, the pilots were talking to us, say, you want to go use the restroom? I said, no, it's okay, I'll hold it. So that's when I didn't want to release anything. I knew people were hearing about it, and people, Ross was following them around and waiting for us at the airport. Where's Dellinger at? But we knew that when we got in that air, that it was game time. Like we had him here, and when he got on that plane, he was like, let's go, I'm ready.
You've been in here for a long time for a lot of different searches. It is rare to point out one guy and get him, right? I mean, how many times have you gotten the number one target, right?
It's very hard, but you never have really a number one target back in those previous searches. There's a lot of people you think your number one target, they might be using it for money at their schools, they're not going to leave. And then you look at the landscape, there's not many guys out there. And you see what happened lately. And there were so many jobs open this year. That was another thing we had a problem. We look at how many jobs are open, and we knew the good thing about it, everybody was waiting for LSU. We were the standard bearer. We were the program that everybody know. Let's wait till LSU, and once LSU falls, then everybody knows what they're doing. And that would happen if you notice. LSU is one of the best jobs in the country. It is the best job in the country. LSU, Georgia, and Ohio State. Those are the three top jobs. And that's what I told Coach Kiffin when I met with him. I said, look, you did just as good as you could at Ole Miss. You did very, very well. But Ole Miss and Kentucky are the only two schools in the SEC that hadn't been to the SEC championship game. And Oklahoma probably is new to the conference. But I said, you want to get to the championship game and compete and win that national championship, this is what you got to do. I also sent him a message, I was teasing him a little bit. When Oregon beat, I think, USC, they jumped him in the CFP. I say, teams don't jump LSU.
Verge, you guys were comfortable with him coaching in the playoff, but this is the first time this has happened where a coach has left the playoff team for did you feel any burden in being the first to do that and what that might do to the college football ecosystem, or did that not factor?
That's not our fault. That's the fault what Coach Saban said on TV the other day about the system. Let everybody coach the season out and make a rule like the NFL does. You can't talk to anybody after the season is over. You can talk to them, but they can't leave after the season. But it was the hand we were dealt, and we had to deal with it. And I had to protect LSU's interests. It was best for LSU. I have great friends at all those institutions in the SEC, but this is about LSU, and I had to do what's right for LSU.
How many other candidates do?
Verge, you mentioned your legacy. Coach Kiffin mentioned your passion. What does it mean to you, maybe emotionally, to be the guy that represents LSU in this endeavor and leave as a player and stay your whole life here and just represent LSU?
It's very important to me. And I talk about that. I had many opportunities to go many other places in my career. And, the best thing about it, I was able to see my children grow up. I've been moving all over the country. I have another son play somewhere else, and I'm supposed to go over with my wife and go see him play the other day, but as the AD, you can't do that anymore, so I have to stay here. But I wear that helmet on that field. This is a very special place for me as a player, and once you wear that helmet, once you play this institution, I've been blessed to have my career here and final stop and legacy where I'm at today. It's a blessing, and that's where I look at it. So, like I said in my first press conference, we're not going to fail. I make sure I'm going to leave this place better, when I came in when I left it. This place here is going to be great. I'm here 10 years and whatever it is, but we're going to leave LSU in great shape.
As what many people saw, Lane wasn't the only one who was on
on that plane. He potentially brought some others with him. What's sort of the status of the coaching staff, front office, like the process of getting those guys?
He brought his general manager, and they're putting that together right now. Like I said, I'm a guy. Give us some numbers. Who you're looking at? Who you're looking at around the country. What you're trying to get. I'm not gonna be a micromanager. I'm not gonna be in the football office every day. My job is to help him manage and get the win and give him the resources. That's all our coaches. All coaches we have in our building. That's my job as athletic director. My job, I'm the Walmart employee. I park in the back, okay? I'm the supplier of the finances. They are the producers and they are the actors. So my job is he's gonna put a great staff together and he finalize the staff, whoever it is. I don't know that yet. He's gonna get those names to us and working with their representatives and get the best people in here, have the best staff out there to compete.
Lane talked a little bit about Coach Saban. How would you describe the role that he played in getting Lane here?
I think he played. They had a lot of conversations. Look, Nick and I talk every 2 weeks. Nick is a very good friend of mine. He's one of my role models. Those type of guys. That's the guys I grew up with. Bill Ausberry and Nick Saban. You talked about those guys. Those are the guys that I look up at in the business. My guy, who's still living, been Bill Ausberry. But I talked to some guys like Jerry Sullivan, who's one of the best wide receivers, best offensive minds in the business. We talked about Lane and other guys out there in this profession. He could go down the list. This is what he does well. This is what the best at. Those type of things. So you have to have some contacts out there. I think that's what helped me in this decision of getting him here, was all those great football coaches I knew around the country. It really helped me in helping him understand how football works. Like I said, I wasn't in there talking about what you're going to do, tell about yourself and things like that. That's what you tell a coach who not on this level. When you get a Lane Kiffin, when you get a Kim Mulkey, when you get a Jay Johnson, you don't have to have long interviews. You know what they could do. These guys have to make sure that they're the right fit for your program.
You were a player in the earthquake game. How did you feel when you talked about Tiger Stadium and his answer about playing in there as now the head coach?
It's a great place. It's magic. And that's what we want to get back. We want to get that feeling. I walked in Tiger Stadium a few times this year. I didn't have it here. I didn't feel it. And a lot of the former players say that. We didn't feel the excitement. We didn't feel that passion when we walked in that stadium. That's what we have to get back. And all those former players and all of our fan base, they want to see that passion. When you walk in that stadium, there should be a little tingle in your stomach. And that's what I finally got back today. Thank y'all.